This is what it would look like if I did a podcast with myself. All right, everyone, warm up those brains. It's time again for the Get More Smarter podcast. This one here is episode 248. I'm Jason Bain.
I'm Ian Silveria. This week on the Get More Smarter podcast, cutting taxes is bad, actually, and the Colorado State Legislature is about to go cut another $1 billion from the state budget because of them. Then, do you enjoy friend of the pod Kyle Clark's innovative evening news show, microgiving campaigns, and refusal to let the worst stories become the most important stories? Well, you better set your DVR because if a big corporate mega merger goes through, it might be the last of next. Then, do you enjoy the convenience of having a month to research all the candidates and initiatives on your mail ballot and the ability to drop them off or mail it back every election? Well, we also have some bad news for you on that. And finally, we dig into the practical possibility of Colorado joining the redistricting arms race to the bottom and a new way Libertarians are trying to screw with Colorado Republicans this time around.
Well, we start with the special legislative session. We've been talking about it for, in our last episode, and that finally kicks off on Thursday, the 21st. Expected to be about 3 days. I don't know if they can get done by Monday, but that's the plan.
You need 3 days legally to pass a bill through both chambers of the legislature in Colorado, so that's sort of the minimum. If they get all the work done in that time period, then they can close out, but I think they reserve the right to go all the way through the weekend if necessary.
I didn't realize that. You actually, 3 full days, huh?
Yeah, you need 3 full days to get a bill from introduction to the governor's desk. So that's why at the very end of session, if something isn't moving by that Monday before sine die, it can't go.
I didn't know that there was an actual day restriction, huh? Well,
yeah, because it needs to pass it can only pass a full chamber in 1 day.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so you can't like move it to the Senate and like start the process all over again the same day it clears the House.
Right. Well, look at me getting more smarter.
Got more smarter.
That's right.
We did. Well, end of pod.
This legislative special session is because obviously the $800 million budget hole that President Trump's big, beautiful bullshit bill created. Colorado Republicans have been trying desperately in the last few weeks to argue that the real problem is that Democrats have overspent in Colorado and that the big, beautiful bullshit bill didn't make cuts to anything and made everybody great and happy, and it's not working.
It's like the Gabe Evans school of just fucking lying about everything all the time now.
Right. Like Colorado Democrats mismanaged the budget for years, and just now we've created a hole.
But
it's
to your
just a
point,
coincidence.
The local press isn't really buying it, which we find to be bringing us some pretty good hope here. And that led to this interesting collection of headlines that I think viewers can see. From the Aurora Sentinel, friend of the pod Dave Perry, editorial, reality of Colorado's budget fallout from big beautiful bill negates GOP theatrics. Denver Post, Colorado lawmakers must close new budget gap reaching nearly $1 billion caused by Trump tax bill. Good context, headline writer. Colorado Sun, Colorado tax revenue was expected especially susceptible to changes in the big beautiful bill. Here's why. Fox 31, quote, going to be devastating, end quote, leaders search for solutions to health insurance spikes. A special session looms. Colorado Public Radio, Colorado lawmakers must cut $1 billion from state's current budget because of GOP federal tax and spending bill. I think that wins the Clarity Award. And the Denver Post, budget gap created by Trump tax bill likely means cuts to some Colorado Medicaid services. So no bullshit being taken by the local press here on the spin machine coming from the blame Democrats for everything, especially a chaos catastrophe caused by a Republican bill.
Yeah, and like just a few weeks ago. Like it's
just
not, this is new.
Right.
Here's Lucas Brady Woods with a little bit more on the not buying things from KUNC Radio.
Education funding, especially K-12 funding, as much as possible. They don't really want to touch that.
I mentioned that Democrats have control of the state legislature. Lucas, how have Republican state lawmakers responded to this current situation?
They're using this as an opportunity to call out Democrats for their tendency to spend. And
any money
Republicans
at all.
have said that we wouldn't be in this situation if Democrats hadn't overspent in recent years. The problem with that argument is that we had a balanced budget at the end of this year's regular session in May. And up until this federal bill passed, the state budget was balanced. That's required in state law to have a balanced budget. And this, so-called one big beautiful bill really has directly hit the state budget and caused these deficits.
So it's
Yeah.
you idiots didn't see Donald Trump winning the election, coming in and passing this exact bill through the legislature. So you
Right.
overspent money that you didn't know you weren't going to have. That is a tough fucking sell to an educated group of political reporters.
It is. And State Senator Barb Kirkmeyer, who's on the Joint Budget Committee, may be a candidate for governor. She's really been pushing this grass is blue, sky is red narrative. In an op-ed in the Denver Post, she proposed that Republicans will try to basically raise taxes on lower income Coloradans in order to cover the cost of tax cuts for the wealthy.
What's the problem with that, Jason?
I didn't know where to start. She's saying Democrats and Republicans do this all the time. They say, if you're not cutting taxes, you're raising taxes. So if you're not allowing a tax cut that already exists for lower income Coloradans to go through, you're, I guess, raising taxes on them, right? Like, they're not even trying to make 2 + 2 = 4. They're just
No, but it's also like, okay, Barb Kirkmeyer, here's our bill to raise taxes on the wealthy to close the budget loop gap. Can we count on you to support that one? No, no, you won't do that either. See, I got it. Okay.
Right. Fortunately, Republicans are in the minority in both chambers. Democrats don't have to deal with the kids in order to pass this budget hole or patch up this budget hole. But I have been happy to see, as you mentioned, that the Republican narrative is just going absolutely nowhere. We'll let you know next week how this all turns out.
Yeah, and how it's going to turn out is a lot of budget cuts that are going to be painful for no goddamn good reason. I mean, the source of this, I guess we should explain to listeners, is the fact that Colorado ties its tax code to the federal tax code in a meaningful way. So one of the reasons why this is happening is because they are extending tax cuts on the federal level and cutting some taxes over time, reducing spending, meaning that we also have to reduce our overall tax collection because those rates are going down at the federal level, which means they are going down effectively at the
It's a
state
revenue
level.
problem.
It's a revenue problem.
Yep.
Yeah. Or a clairvoyance problem. If only Democrats
That's
knew
Yeah.
that Trump was going to do this exact thing. We could have
We
planned
should not
for
have
it.
sold that crystal ball.
And then that was short-sighted in hindsight. And then if you take Gabe Evans's word for it, of course, this is all even more confusing, and we'll get to this in more detail later, because he says Medicaid spending is going up. So how could we possibly be cutting budgets of spending if all the money for Medicaid is actually more of it now?
Oh,
Jason?
Oh.
You must be lying.
Twice the Medicaid.
Twice the Medicaid for half the price.
That's right. Yeah. Why didn't we think of that? Well, there's another story out recently that is not great news, and I don't know if it appears as bad as it really is on first read of the headlines, so we wanted to explain this more. Nexstar Media Group has reached agreement to buy Tegna, which is the owner of, among other stations, 9 News, the 40-year market leader.
Yeah,
on
did
Denver
you know
television.
your local news station isn't actually owned by NBC? Despite the little peacock, it's owned by a conglomerate of local news stations that is owned by a supergroup that I did not know existed called Tegna until they sent me my first paycheck for being the 9 News Democratic correspondent 1 million years ago.
Nexstar also produces that right-wing cable channel News Nation, so that should tell you a little bit about where they're coming from. And then this quote from Nexstar CEO Perry Cook in a statement on the sale is pretty jarring. It says, quote, "The initiatives being pursued by the Trump administration offer local broadcasters the opportunity to expand reach, level the playing field, and compete more effectively with the big tech and legacy big media companies that have unchecked reach and vast financial resources," unquote.
And if that motherfucker has your spidey senses ticking off the charts, you are on to something, because The thing it starts with is lavish praise for Donald Trump,
Right.
which
Completely
is what
unnecessary.
a lot of these guys are looking at as their cost of doing business. If we praise the administration, or if we bribe the president, or if we intentionally lose a slam dunk lawsuit by settling with him to line his own pockets, then we will get what we want, is a strategy that seems to be working a lot. Okay.
So here's what's going to happen then. It's similar, I think, to what happened in 2008 when Sinclair Media, which owns Fox 31 News, bought Channel 2 News. Channel 2 had about 100 news staffers at the time working out of their own building in the Denver Tech Center. 2 years later, all those people were fired. That building, I think they sold it. And now Channel 2 still produces a regular newscast, but it's just Fox 31 News's.
Yeah, you've got like
newscast.
these two parallel stations going on where Fox 31 is doing both national syndicated, national Fox programming while they're producing local news coverage. And then Channel 2 just doesn't syndicate the national Fox stuff at the same time, right?
Right.
So you just
but
have
they
like
essentially
local
syndicate
programming.
Fox 31.
That's right.
In a way. Yeah. So this is what's likely to happen. If this sale goes through in early 2026, 9 News staff probably gets cut, maybe all of them. The 9 News building goes away, and Fox 31 News just starts running their news on whatever channel 9 News still exists on.
So you drive by 9th and Spear and whatever's there, maybe they'll turn it into condos.
Right.
It's a real shame. I mean,
I know what you're asking. What you may be thinking is, isn't there a restriction on owning multiple news stations in a market?
Some kind of anti-monopoly,
Right.
antitrust kind of thing, because it feels bad if one giant corporation owns all the local news in one market, right?
There was a restriction on that, but the Federal Communications Commission is changing that rule. They did that in July. FCC Commissioner Brendan Carr, who, by the way, wrote the Project 2025 section on the FCC,
Absolutely perfect.
is pushing to eliminate that regulation. It still has to go through, approvals and hearings, whatever. Hopefully the congressional delegation from Colorado will push to oppose getting rid of that regulation, which could be a solution here to keep really the best news station we have in the Denver metro area from just going away.
Also, one of the best local news stations in the country, producing some of the most hard-hitting and good accountability journalism on Democrats and Republicans and everybody else in the entire nation. I mean, this would be a huge loss. We take it for granted, and it turns out that we really shouldn't have.
Yeah, the other option is maybe to try to ask that Nexstar divest from 9 News. This is a fight I think all Colorado politicians should join.
Absolutely. Well,
'Cause
all the ones that don't have Kyle Clark on their basement dartboards.
Well, sure. But even if they don't, I mean, it just, we know what happens when we lose competition in the news market. We've seen it with Fox 31 and Channel 2, the loss of the Rocky Mountain News, the bleeding of the Denver Post by its hedge fund owners. No community gets better with less objective journalism.
Yeah, I remember I used to listen to Air America in Colorado when I first moved here. And now if you turn on any AM radio station that's not public radio, it is just a fucking wall of right-wing nonsense.
Right. And that's the unspoken part of what they're trying to do here, I think.
Yeah. So when this guy says that this is a great opportunity for local news to compete with big tech and legacy big media, he is utterly full of shit, because what this is a consolidation propaganda operation.
Yep.
Bad stuff. What else is bad, Jason?
Oh, we've got some other things that are bad. President Trump is on a crusade to end mail ballots, which he can't legally do, but, that's
I was
not
thinking
stopping
about
him.
this, and I hope I'm not speaking things into the universe that will be used against us. But he hasn't stated what the mechanism is. He's going to do an executive order saying they're bad or something. But what he theoretically could do, I suppose, is stop the Postal Service from delivering them or delivering them on time. That's what really scares me, is he does control the Postal Service. And insofar as most mail ballots in Colorado, at least, are delivered to a drop-off box, so they do not interact with the Postal Service at all. There are going to be plenty of people who, for a variety of good reasons, will want to, habitual, distance, like convenience, rights, whatever, just pop it in the mail like they have been doing for the last, God, that law has been on the books for a decade. I just realized that.
I mean, I'm hopeful the reason he wouldn't do that is because you don't know what votes you're not including then at that
Rural
point.
Colorado Republicans absolutely fucking love mail ballots for good reasons.
Right.
But what's
So
this really about?
It's about two things. It's about sowing doubt in elections, and I think it's about distracting from stories like the Epstein files.
It's like another flood the zone with shit maneuver, right?
And it's also because Vladimir Putin apparently mentioned this to Trump recently, and Trump is just dazzled by whatever Putin says. So that got him thinking, oh, yeah,
Man,
mail
I'm
ballots.
so glad the president of the United States is taking cues on democracy from a guy who wins elections with the heaviest scare quotes imaginable by 90% margins. That's probably why he's taking the advice.
Fortunately, even Republican county clerks in Colorado are pushing back on this. Here's more from 9 News.
While we still have them.
While it exists.
More from 9 News while you still can.
Mail-in ballots, you can never have a real democracy with mail-in ballots. And we, as a Republican Party, are going to do everything possible that we get rid of mail-in ballots.
President Trump made those comments today in the Oval Office. He's targeting mail-in voting the way 90% of Coloradans vote.
Colorado clerk and recorders are now pushing back, saying this is a violation of states' rights. Here's 9 News reporter Rachel Krause.
Last November, these ballot boxes stayed busy as people came by to drop off their mail-in ballots. Now, President Trump wants to eliminate this as an option altogether.
The president who says that he wants safer and more secure elections is advocating for policies that will do the exact
Here's
opposite
Matt Crane.
and make our elections less
frequent,
and
get
less
more
secure.
smarter.
Matt Crane is the director of the Colorado
Appearance
County
maker.
Clerks Association. He says the president's announcement wasn't unexpected, but it's still not what they wanted to hear.
It's incredibly frustrating and infuriating that this is happening right now, all based on lies. Elections are essentially a state and local function. And so this vast federal overreach, this power grab to change the way we do elections, all because he's misguided and thinking that the election was stolen from him in 2020, it's a very dangerous precedent, not just for this, but down the line.
This is challenging the Constitution. You know, the division of federal rights and the division of states' rights is what it comes down to.
Steve Schleicher is the Republican clerk and recorder in El Paso County. He says mail-in voting is incredibly popular.
98% of the voters here in El Paso County do mail.
98% in El Paso.
Majority
Wow.
mail-in voting are safe, fair, and accurate. He knows some are skeptical.
My mom was one that absolutely believed that everything was fraud. She wasn't going to vote. And I never knew my mom not to vote.
Schleicher says transparency can build trust in mail-in systems. Schleicher has done that in El Paso County by letting people look up adjudicated ballots, adding a 24/7 ballot box live stream. But eliminating mail-in voting altogether, he says that raises big questions.
What does that mean about our military and overseas
There it is.
voters?
It's not anything I've ever seen before, and it's not welcome or warranted either.
Crane says Trump's proposal steps on states' rights with potential to deeply change Colorado elections.
We believe in the proper role of government. The federal government has their lane. They should stay in their lane. Here in Colorado, we run accessible, safe, secure elections. We'll stay in ours.
Clerks I spoke with today say even if the president's plan moves forward, they expect this won't hold up in court. In Denver, Rachel Krause, 9 News.
Again, I think it's important to note that there is no obvious mechanism that Trump can do anything because elections are run by states, and that's in the Constitution, and that's that's not something you can just change. It doesn't mean he's not going to try. But
I mean, he's not supposed to be able to deploy the fucking National Guard to the streets of Washington, D.C. for no
Also
fucking
that,
reason
yeah.
either. But like, they're just swinging and they're doing what they can, and we'll see what happens. And it's not great.
Trump is also talking about his opposition to voting machines, which is something we've heard nutball Republicans in Colorado complain about for
Yeah,
years.
we should definitely go back to like paper ballots and boxes because there were never any voter fraud or ballot box stuffing or things like that.
Humans don't make any mistakes.
No, certainly not.
We thought we'd play this out, though. So
Yeah, they're
What's
talking
it-
about hand counting all the ballots. This is like a thing that's actually in the Colorado Republican Party platform, is it not?
Yeah, I believe it is.
All right, so what's our turnout in Colorado? 80-ish% out of 6 million, so it's about what?
5 million ballots. Let's just
5
say, give or take.
million ballots every. Let's go with every even year, right?
Right.
Okay.
So let's say conservatively, it takes a minute to count each ballot.
Which I think is like actually really generous, because if you've
Yeah.
seen Colorado ballots lately, they're 2 pages front and back, and there's a fucking
That's true.
lot of shit. So, but
That's
let's just give the benefit of the doubt that it's 1 minute per ballot, consistent throughout the entire process, right?
Yep. That would take 83,333 hours, give
Oh.
or take.
That's like one of the math problems that my kid asks me all the time. Like, Dad, how many seconds is 883,333 hours?
It's a lot.
Okay, so how long would it take to count?
Well, if you had 20,000 people,
Hmm.
which was the equivalent of everybody in Ball Arena.
Oh, and maybe we could just use Ball Arena for this exercise.
Yeah, right. That would take roughly 4 hours and 20 minutes to count every ballot.
Oh. Perfectly accurately with no human error or
right.
mistakes, of course.
Yeah, assuming you could somehow figure out a way to even do this.
Right. I mean, you would need to ship the ballots from all 64 counties securely to Ball Arena, have 20,000 counters.
I don't even know where you'd get 20,000
Both parties
people
agreed were trustworthy, and
right.
yeah, it's the dumbest shit I've ever heard in my entire life.
So, if you had, say, 2,000 people doing this, it would take you about 42 hours, which means it would take at least a week to get results. So this is stupid.
This is incredibly stupid.
I remember going with my parents when they would vote at the elementary school near our house.
Yeah.
Waiting in line for hours.
In like
Why would we do
November
that?
in Colorado, where
Right.
it's like not fucking great to wait outside for hours.
Why would we do that again?
Again, when 95% of the people in El Paso County trust the system, it's a system that works for everybody.
Yeah. So I don't think we're probably in real danger of getting rid of mail ballots, but the big orange guy is going to give it a shot.
And just for like unbelievable goofball posterity, like here's the Truth Social post that this idiot put up on the internet that we all have to live under. I am going to lead a movement to get rid of mail-in ballots, all caps, and also while we're at it, highly, quote, inaccurate, end quote, capitalized for no reason. Capital V, very, capital E, expensive. I can't read this whole thing like this. What is wrong with this guy? Why does he use the camel case for no reason all the time?
I don't know.
Anyway, go to fucking Truth Social and read this goddamn bullshit. It's not great. This is bad news. And it's like, I don't know, like the tinfoil hat side of me is like, he's doing this so he can rig the election, because every accusation is a confession. Every single thing they've accused Democrats of doing, they are themselves doing. And one of the main things they've accused Democrats of doing, despite him being president at the time, is rigging the 2020 election against him. So, of course, he will try and rig it for himself this time around.
Right. We're not going to do a full Trump time this week, but there is one more update worth reporting. The Epstein files.
Oh, were they released? And did Lauren Boebert vote to release them?
Apparently, they're starting to be released on Friday.
Oh, that's great. I can't wait
Remember,
to read them.
Democrats were able to get a vote on this in late July, despite the efforts of House Speaker Mike Johnson trying to just get everyone to a recess. Here's NBC News from Tuesday, August 19th.
Turning now to new developments in the Jeffrey Epstein saga. As pressure to release the government's case files continues to grow, despite the president's claim that the issue is a Democratic Party hoax. A Republican chairman of the House Oversight Committee, James Comer, announced late yesterday that the Justice Department would begin complying with his committee's subpoenas for documents and information tied to the case, and will start handing over that material on Friday. The news came just hours after President Trump's former Attorney General Bill Barr sat for a closed-door deposition as the first witness in the Oversight Committee's investigation into the Epstein files. NBC News senior national political reporter Sahil Kapoor is with me now. Sahil, what types of documents will the Oversight Committee be receiving?
That only the DOJ knows, and they have not said, but I can tell you what types of documents the subpoena required the DOJ to hand over. And this was issued 2 weeks ago, by the way. The deadline is today, and they will miss that deadline. The documents include all documents and communications involving Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, and relating to trafficking and exploitation of minors, includes case files on Epstein and Maxwell and their respective prosecutions, documents on the 2007 non-prosecution agreement at the time of Jeffrey Epstein, which critics have called a sweetheart deal, all documents and communications regarding his death in 2018, which has sparked quite a few conspiracy theories as it was ruled a suicide. And finally, any references to his case that were brought up in the Justice Department during the Biden administration. These documents are required to be handed over full and unredacted with 2 exceptions. They're allowed to redact personally identifying information of victims, and they're allowed to remove or redact any sex abuse material. Now, Comer yesterday defended the move by the DOJ to take a few extra days to start handing over the documents, saying that the DOJ needs more time to redact that very information. And he argued that the administration is committed to transparency. The ranking Democrat on this committee, Robert Garcia, not so convinced, says the documents are due today. And he said any delay would show that the so-called Trump-Epstein cover-up continues, end quote.
So, wait.
That's good. Messaging. Yeah. Way to go, Robert Garcia.
Here's the rub, though. We don't know how long it will take for the Department of Justice to release all of the information. They've only promised to begin releasing the information.
It's just like one letter at a time, once a week for the rest of the term.
Right. Epstein. Next week. Did.
Files.
Next
week. Colon. Part
right.
God damn it, we live in hell.
But at least it's at least it's moving. So that's something.
Do you think there's a shred of a chance on the planet fucking Earth that Donald Trump's Department of Justice will hand over anything at all that would incriminate Donald Trump? Like, there's takes that's like there's too many FBI agents involved in going through to make sure that they're removing all this abuse material and yada yada, and someone's going to take the whole thing and leak it. And do you think we're actually going to know anything real after this?
I kind of do, only because I think if they were going to keep Trump out of it, they would have done that earlier. I never understood why, an administration this corrupt, why they didn't just say, all right, we're going to release the Epstein files, but before, just delete everything that says Trump. And then, what are people going to do? What are you going to say? But they didn't do that. So now I think it's got to be out there somewhere. And I think they're just going to have to explain why Trump is in there at some point.
Yeah, they're like kicking the can down the road while they're like flooding the zone with other shit so that they can hopefully like reduce the boil of this. It doesn't seem like most of the national media is falling for it. There's a loud contingent on the far right in MAGA land in many ways,
that want this,
QAnon land, that want to see this. And I don't think he has succeeded so far in getting them to back off all the way, but we'll see.
Yeah. Republicans in Texas are expected to soon approve a new redistricting proposal that attempts to create 5 new Republican seats in Congress. This was per Donald Trump's demand to Texas Governor Greg Abbott. Texas Democrats
I still can't
fled
fucking believe that he like threw away this bullshit line about find me 5 seats and they just fucking jumped right on it. Like I still can't believe that.
Yeah, I just figure out a way to cheat. Okay, you got it.
You got it, boss.
Yep. Whatever you say. Texas Democrats had fled the state to prevent Republicans from having a quorum, but they recently returned to the legislature because California is now moving ahead with its own proposal that would effectively negate the increase in Republican seats in Texas.
Which, like, we're not going to, like, show all of Gavin Newsom's recent tweets or whatever. And, like, we're not going to vote for him for president either, probably. But, like, go look at that shit. It's fucking funny. It's really good.
This is the right thing to do. Here's NBC Bay Area News with a little more.
A milestone moment today in the growing showdown between California and Texas over congressional redistricting. At the heart of the battle is Texas' plan to add more Republican-controlled seats in Congress. California Democrats, though, plan to cancel out those 5 seats in Texas by adding 5 of their own. Both sides speaking out as California starts the process to make the cancellation threat a reality. NBC Bay Area's Scott Budman is here with the latest and break down what's happening.
Well, today, Janelle, we heard from both sides, Republicans and Democrats, two very different views of what's happening. They both spoke in Sacramento, talking about the governor's plan to change the state's voting map.
We believe in the voters and the people of this state.
Both Democrats and Republicans spoke up about Governor Newsom's plan to redraw several congressional districts in California, with some Democrats calling it a necessary response to a Texas plan to turn 5 of its seats red.
So we're not here because we dislike independent redistricting. We're here because Donald Trump and his Republican supporters are trying to rig the next election.
That's it. Yeah, it's that
really
simple.
Solid, easy, good messaging, and they're not even really disputing it, right? I mean, this is the thing. They're saying, go redraw the map so we can get 5 more seats, because they fucking know all the shit they're doing is wildly unpopular, is going to cost them. In a fair election, they get wiped the fuck out. And if you go back and look at historical wave election years, especially in responses to Donald Trump's first couple of years in office, where voters go, oh no, this sucks, I hate it, what do we do? You get like dozens of seats moved the wrong way. So like, I think Trump is banking on this being the arms race where Texas goes first, and then California does it, and then, you know, other red states feel like they have to do it, even though they're all fucking already gerrymandered to hell. Look at a state like North Carolina. There's a great interview with Hakeem Jeffries and Tim Miller, friend of the pod, on the Bulwark podcast from last week, where they kind of go into this. And Hakeem said, I forgot this was true, North Carolina, has 14 congressional districts. Before they did a illegal redistricting rigging of the map, California had 7 Democrats and 7 Republicans they sent to Washington. They went ahead and just redrew the map after 2022. Do you know what they send now?
What is it, like 10-4?
It's 10-4. So they just and what's the majority in Congress right now?
Right,
3 seats. So that would have been the majority. It was Jeff Jackson, who is now Attorney General of North Carolina, Wiley Nickel. They tried to gerrymander Don Davis out of his seat. It didn't work, and they got rid of 2 more. It is insane.
Yeah, and again, Democrats are responding to what the Republicans are doing.
So now there's
not the other way around.
A lot of energy and some vibes out there about, well, should all blue states join in on the fun with New York and California? And what about Colorado? I mean, we have 8 districts. We're sending 4 Republicans, 4 Democrats. If it were proportional to presidential vote, at a minimum, it'd be 5-3. If we were gerrymandering like Republicans do, it'd be more like 6-2. You could even squeeze 7-1 out of this map if you really wanted to. So is it possible? Is it going to happen here?
No. Because it's pretty complicated. And in order for Colorado to do this, voters would need to undo Propositions Y and Z from 2018 that created an independent redistricting process.
Here's friend of the pod, Dr. Yadira Caraveo on Twitter. Back on July 29th, so almost a month ago, she kind of got in here early, tweeting, I'm sick of Democrats who sit idly by and wring their hands when Trump and MAGA continue their effort to steal power and erode our democracy. When they're redistricting power grab in Texas and elsewhere, I fully support Colorado throwing out its independent commission and redrawing the congressional map in response. Our democracy is on the line. A sentiment which I agree with, and even Kent Theory, who funded and pushed Y and Z, and I think had something to do with the Independent Redistricting Commission in California as well, came forward and said to this quote from Dr. Caraveo something along the lines of, we must get rid of the cancer of gerrymandering, but I have a problem with bringing a knife to a gunfight, which I thought was really interesting that he would weigh in on this at all, but especially like in a way that kind of says, well, if they're going to do it, you know, so there's got to be a response.
The problem, again, so you'd have to overturn Y and Z, which
so you'd have to have an election to repeal 2 constitutional amendments that each passed by 70% of the vote.
Yeah. If you could do that, you'd have to figure out how to get around the 2003 Salazar v. Davidson Colorado Supreme Court ruling.
Dates Y and Z and was done in response to the Republican midnight gerrymander back then, where they tried to steal a bunch of seats after doing a bunch of unpopular shit that led to Democrats actually winning, I think, the state Senate in 2004. Or did we get the House too?
I think it was just one. I think it was the Senate. But I'd have to fact check. But essentially, that Supreme Court case in Colorado constitutionally rules out mid-decade redistricting. So you could, in theory, do all of this. There's no way you can do it in time for 2026.
And there are two people that we believe met on Reddit because we went and found the thread where they organized themselves, and they did put something forward to the title board, but they would have to raise millions of dollars to collect signatures, and it's not going to happen. I was trying to, a national reporter called me a couple weeks ago to ask if this was even possible, and I kind of went down this rabbit hole, and the answer is what you said. Technically, yes, but in any universe, is it going to happen? No. But Jason, Democrats just need to fight.
I would say, to that, spend that time and money getting rid of Gabe Evans.
There you go. We could just win.
Then you pick up a seat.
A free and fair election, and we should on that one for sure.
Then you pick up a seat. And Gabe Evans is going to have another issue in 2026 because he may have to sign a Libertarian pledge once again, which is something he did in 2024. Listeners may remember us talking about this at the time. The Colorado Republican Party and the Colorado Libertarian Party created an alliance of sorts to try to prevent Libertarian candidates from taking votes away from Republicans in toss-up districts. So the plan was for Republicans to sign a Liberty Pledge that included a bunch of weird shit that are Libertarian priorities. This is back for 2026, and it's even weirder.
I mean, why would they stop? They extracted a bunch of concessions from the Colorado Republican Party that the Libertarian Party is full of batshit crazy lunatics in Colorado, but they are batshit crazy lunatics who are more effective as a third party than
they're strategically batshit crazy.
They are, but they're more effective than the Colorado Republican Party in many ways. It's interesting.
Right. But look at some of these pledge documents. If the promise to eliminate the state income tax, okay. Promote food freedom, including raw milk and eggs. All right. Allow people to keep livestock in their backyards. That seems like a horrible idea.
I fucking love that. Yeah. So no vaccines, and everybody's going to get swine flu. Cool.
Right.
Food freedom.
And of course, liberating the water supply from fluoridation. The pledges also require candidates for state offices to vote against any efforts to increase taxes, which is stupid because you can't do that because of Tabor, but whatever.
I mean, they can take the pledge. It won't change their lives.
Right. Also new, though, in 2026 is a pledge for candidates for governor. One of them requires that they sign a promise to pardon former Mesa County Clerk and Recorder Tina Peters, who's sitting in jail because of breaking into her own election computers after the 2020 presidential election.
We said this after the last pledge got issued, but it's kind of hard to think of a better list of things that we would want Republicans to sign to help defeat them in elections.
Right. You're gonna sign a document saying that you would pardon
let Tina Peters out of jail. I fucking love it. Let's go. Yeah. Tell me where to contribute to the Colorado Libertarian Party.
Just tell me where I can see that signature, and we'll move ahead.
Lord's work.
Good God. All right, let's do a couple of quick hits, and then we'll get out of here. We'll start with our FAFO, our fuck around and find out of the week. We were talking earlier about redistricting in Texas. Here's Texas Governor Greg Abbott complaining about California doing what he did.
And so what the Democrats have done is disgraceful and potentially illegal. I'll tell you this much. If California dares to try to squeeze out more Republicans, there are going to be lawsuits that will overturn that. What I can tell you in the state of Texas, the 5 Republican seats that we are adding, they are going to withstand legal challenges, and those will be Republican members added to the United States Congress.
We're breaking the law the right way. We're rigging shit the right
accurately.
way. We are cheating correctly. You are cheating wrong. You're not playing properly.
You mean Democrats aren't just going to let us do it? Oh,
I think he is one of the most fucking dangerous, cynical pieces of trash in this country right now. The governor of Texas is absolutely a heinous, immoral vehicle for the worst politics imaginable. How fucking dare? Can you imagine having the chutzpah to like do what he's doing and then go and say what the Democrats are doing is immoral and illegal?
How terrible they're doing this thing that we did first.
Fuck you.
There's this increasing buzz, pun intended, about Xcel Energy customers facing the risk of double or even triple their electric rates because Xcel Energy wants to build out more infrastructure to help serve data farms, which need a lot more electricity for the AI monster.
Which,
Excel's
like,
own.
Can we just talk about this for 1 second?
Yeah.
Do you think this is like a big stupid bubble, or like are we really going to need all this data infrastructure that takes a ton of energy? A lot of it takes a ton of water to cool everything down. It takes a lot of land and real estate. Like, are we really that insistent on like having it do our jobs for us, or making weird cartoons with 5 arms that we like?
I'm hoping the bubble bursts on that idea. Yeah, because it's like at some point, can someone show me what we're getting from AI other than, like you said, weird memes?
I mean, this says Xcel Energy's own forecast has the basic electric charge for residential customers increasing 30% by 2032, which is only 7 years from now, to about 21 cents a kilowatt hour. Industrial and commercial rates increase 2% to about 14 cents a kilowatt hour. Now, Republicans are going to try and blame Democrats for green initiatives and renewable energy and reducing carbon and all this bullshit, but it's the demand side coming from big tech companies that's really driving a lot of this, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's the issue I have with this, and I think a lot of people do. Residential customers should not be fronting the bill to build out capacity for data centers.
Right. This should be squarely on the shoulder of the investors and the profiteers from that. You have everybody in the same market, so I get that it's complicated, but I don't know, you're on to something. Like, maybe you create a third tier. You have commercial, you have residential, and maybe you have data, or you have internet, or you have some other bucket where the PUC can charge a different fee structure so that it's fair to consumers. Like, it shouldn't be the case that AI is going to take your job and then also jack up your electricity bill.
Right.
That seems bad.
Right. And then there's a similar argument happening in Pennsylvania, where companies like Amazon want to build huge data centers that plug directly into the Susquehanna nuclear power plant, which seems like a bad idea.
I mean, can we have a more elegant solution here? Like there's a lot of untapped geothermal potential in Colorado. Like, couldn't we put these data centers, give them some kind of mandate to build where the geothermal exists, and then utilize that because it's renewable and clean? I mean,
why can't we just say to the data centers, find your own fucking energy?
Yeah, pay your own way.
Just find your own. You want to build it out? Cool.
I don't think we're ready for any of this shit, man.
No.
And I say this as a guy who's not like a Luddite on this. Like, I'm not like philosophically opposed to AI. I think a lot of it is overhyped. I think a lot of it is a bubble. I think that bubble is going to burst, and like regular people will probably hold the bag instead of all these billion-dollar corporations, because that's what happens every fucking time. But yeah, I mean, like, it's not like it's not like we as a society are gearing AI with trust and safety toward a future in which it does all of the menial tasks and frees up humans with universal basic income to pursue art and leisure. It's literally just going to make rich people richer and cost lower income people their jobs and incomes, and
or
jack up everybody's electricity rates along the way.
Best case scenario, even if it turns out to be great, we're not going to have any water to drink. So, that we'll have the best memes, but we'll all be dead. We mentioned in our segment at the beginning about the special legislative session coming because of a result of the big, beautiful bullshit bill that cuts taxes for rich people and cuts Medicaid, or it doesn't, because Congressman Gabe Evans from the 8th Congressional District just saying whatever.
Yeah, this is a semi-recurring segment called "Is Gabe Evans Either Lying or Stupid?" And
Yes.
he tweets, "It was great to hear from local leaders and share an update on the one big beautiful bill, increasing border security, more funding for Medicaid, and improving school safety.
What?
It's always an honor to fight for #C008 in Congress." Yeah, if you too made the Tim Allen the Toolman Taylor noise at more funding for Medicaid, you're not alone, because Jason did it too. Here's something that I found was interesting when I clicked to open this. Doge AI, which is like a bot that does Doge things on Twitter. Look at this. It says, the One Big Beautiful Bill Act slashes $863 to $930 billion from Medicaid over a decade while imposing brutal 80-hour-to-month work requirements on recipients. Section 2B9 forces states to absorb massive funding cuts, risking coverage for 11.8 million Americans. Border security gets $46.55 billion for walls and tech, but Medicaid's, quote, increased funding is pure spin. It's a historic contraction masked by bureaucratic jargon. School safety buried under enforcement pork. Thanks.
I retract
Doge
my
AI.
earlier statement. If this is what AI does, yeah, I like AI.
If
I'm
it
good with AI.
fact checks Gabe Evans to oblivion,
Yes,
I'll give my house over to a data center. Why not?
absolutely.
Holy shit.
All right, let's play our newest segment where we feature an example of people calling out the nonsense from Republicans and Donald Trump. As Ian mentioned earlier, California Governor Gavin Newsom's staff has been posting messages on X that use all caps and use the same basic sentence structure of President Trump. This makes Republicans sad, but Newsom is not apologizing for it.
I don't know.
Oh my God, I hate Instagram Reels.
Instagram has to fix this.
Yeah, what's going on with those posts on X that are clearly trolling the president? Can you just talk about that? Is that like a strategy?
I don't know. I hope it's a wake-up call to the President of the United States. I'm sort of following his example. If you've got issues with what I'm putting out, you sure as hell should have concerns about what he's putting out as president.
Nice.
So to the extent it's gotten some attention, I'm pleased. But I think the deeper question is, how have we allowed the normalization of his tweets through social posts over the course of the last many years to go without similar scrutiny and notice?
It is
Well
interesting to consider Gavin Newsom perhaps America's greatest living satirist, but here we are.
Yeah, well done. It's absolutely true. And finally, our gibberish of the week. Here's White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt trying to explain how President Trump plans to actually stop the scourge of mail-in voting.
Go ahead.
So the president says that he's starting a movement to eliminate mail-in voting, but states administer elections, not federal authorities. So can you provide any more details about how the White House plans to eliminate that?
The White House continues to work on this, and when Congress comes back to Washington, I'm sure there will be many discussions with our friends on Capitol Hill and also our friends in state legislatures across the country to ensure that we're protecting the integrity of the vote for the American people. And I think Republicans generally, and the president generally, wants to make it easier for Americans to vote and harder for people to cheat in our elections. And it's quite mind-boggling that the Democrat Party could stand in opposition to common sense. He wants to ensure election integrity. There were great efforts that were made in 2024. I won't get ahead of myself for Hatch Act reasons to get ahead for the next election, but I can assure you this is a priority for the president.
What the fuck is she talking about?
She doesn't know.
Hatch Act?
Well, it's a little scary that she's talking about that, meaning that she may be working on a campaign from the White House, potentially to reelect Donald Trump to a third illegal term.
Right.
Don't love that.
But maybe don't say it out loud.
Yeah, not great.
I guess. I'd love to, like, how are you going to do this thing that there's no obvious way for you to do it? Oh, we're working on it. Okay.
Awesome stuff.
All right, that's it for us this week.
The Get More Smarter podcast is a production of ColoradoPolls.com and the Big Horn Company. Your hosts are me, Ian Silveri, and America's dad,
Jason Bain,
who managed to figure out how to engineer and produce this thing. Megan makes the video version and does a bunch of other shit too. Thanks, Megan. The phenomenal Breakmaster Cylinder made the theme song like 5 years ago. Thanks for that. Get your shots while you still can. Protect your trans kids, your autistic kids, your immigrant kids, and any other kids in your life. Really, it's Subscribe on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Rate the show and leave us a review on Apple Podcasts if you got more smarter. It actually helps a lot. Go to YouTube and battle the trolls in our comment section. You can also find us at getmoresmarter.com, where you can sign up for bonus content in our Substack. And please send all angry and non-angry rants to angryrants@getmoresmarter.com, other stuff to Ian at getmoresmarter.com, and other stuff to Jason at getmoresmarter.com. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time. After this helpful message from eBay.
All the tires you need at prices.
I don't think I'd buy tires from eBay.